world. My name is Nikkiesha McLeod, and you're listening to When We See Each Other, presented by Stereoactive Media. When We See Each Other is a podcast that focuses on music and art by BIPOC, queer, trans, and non-binary artists, as well as artists I've met and known for some time. This week, we're interviewing non-binary singer-songwriter Mel Fine. First, we'll play their single In Between, and then jump right into the interview. Here we go.
Your boutonniere sits on the table. Dad buttons your sleeves. Mama fixes your makeup. They don't know you're not their little prom queen. Stare into the mirror. Breathe reality in. Maybe this is the moment you'll find comfort in your own skin. It's time to tell yourself the truth about why dress shoes feel this good on you. You're in between the man you look up to and the woman they said you would turn out to be. Now you see, you're in between a question and answer, the person you know that you are meant to be. Finally, 'cause it feels just right when you wear that suit and tie. Halloween, you dressed up as a pirate when all your friends were in pink. Dreamed of cutting your hair short, sweeping pretty girls off their feet. It's time to tell the world the truth about why dresses don't feel good on you. You're in between the man you look up to and the woman they said you would turn out to be. Now you see, you're in between a question and answer, the person you know that you are meant to be. Finally, 'cause it feels just right when you wear that suit. You're not stuck in one of two sides. Be your own design. You're in between the man you look up to and the woman they said you would turn out to be. And now you see, you're everything. A question and answer, the person you know that you are meant to be. Finally, 'cause it feels just right when you wear that suit and tie. It feels just right when you wear that suit and tie.
Hi, Mel. Welcome to When We See Each Other. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh my goodness, Nikki, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm very excited too. We're both very excited.
So
So,
excited.
so I wanted to first start off by asking what inspired you to start making music?
I've been doing music literally like since before I can remember. My parents always joke that I started singing when I was 6 months old.
Ah,
When my grandmother would bring me towards the fridge to get my bottle of milk, I would like sing like operatic notes.
oh my
But
God.
yeah, as a kid, I was always really interested in like musical theater. I started doing musical theater when I was about 5, and I just really fell in love with it, but more so for the musical aspect of it rather than like the acting. I just loved how people could like tell stories and express emotions through music. And I sort of did grow out of, I mean, I can't say I grew out of musical theater. I still absolutely love musical theater, but I kind of pivoted to focus more on the musical aspects. I started taking voice lessons with my mentor, Lisa. She's incredible. At about 7, I'm 20 now for context. And yeah, so basically just being surrounded by like musical theater really inspired me to start making music and showed me that I could tell my own stories. And then like obviously like watching like Disney Channel and listening to like
Yeah.
Demi Lovato, Ed Sheeran, all of those people growing up, it was like, oh wow, like I could be a storyteller like them. So that's kind of what got me going. Um, but yeah, I think just I was really intrigued by just the emotional release of it all.
Yeah. So do you remember like your first song you ever wrote and what it was about?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so when I was, like, probably 7, me and my dad plays piano, and he
Okay.
was in a band when he was in college, so we were just fooling around, and I was like, "Dad, you know what? We're gonna write a song." And he was like, "Okay, okay, sure, we're gonna write a song." So we wrote this, like it was called Think Baby Think. He was literally just writing down, like, whatever random lyrics I was, like, saying, and then he just, like, played some chords on the piano, and so I guess technically that was the first song I ever wrote. But I think the first real song I wrote, I was about 11 and I was struggling a lot in school, like socially. And so I was like, I'm gonna show them that I can do something. So I wrote just like this little pop song. It was like super emo. But it was just kind of about like feeling trapped in where you are.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the first time I really felt like songwriting is like not only a musical tool, but like a therapeutic tool.
Yeah.
And then I haven't stopped ever since.
Yeah, that is just amazing. That's and it's so true too. It's people forget that music is there for like so many different things. It's, not only just for entertaining, but it's also for healing process of like any sort of like traumatic stuff that you went through, you just jot it down and start singing it out and it just relieves you and releases you. So yeah, I totally hear you on that.
Completely, yeah.
So did you or are you in school for music?
Yeah, so right now I'm at Berklee College of Music.
Mhm.
I'm a junior. We go in like semesters at Berklee, but technically I'm a junior. And I'm double majoring because I love making my life a little extra spicy. I'm majoring in music production engineering and songwriting there.
Oh,
So I get a little bit of all the fun aspects.
oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. And where are you located?
So right now I'm located in Boston, living here for school. It's such a great city. Everyone, I found a really nice community here, so it's really nice. But I'm originally from Sharon, Massachusetts, which is a little town, a little Jewish town, about half an hour south of Boston.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So I want to jump in to the song In Between, which is just so amazing. It is just so amazing. I've been listening to this song every day now, like seriously. Um, and I feel like it's such an anthem for non-binary people. Um, Can you talk about how and what inspired you to write such a song?
First of all, thank you so much. Like I'm blushing right now for those of you listening at home. So basically I actually wrote in between without the intention of writing in
Oh,
between.
okay.
Um for one of my songwriting classes 2 semesters ago, our final project was writing a self-portrait song. And I had been struggling with identity for a while. I my plan was to just be a lesbian and just live that way, even though I knew that that wasn't me. But I just was like, that's easier. But then I was really thinking, and I like went through a bunch of like superficial, oh, self portrait songs, like what I could do. And then I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I think, I think I just need to write about my actual truth. And honestly, it was such a healing experience for me. The song pretty much just flowed out of me. I can't say that happens for most of my songs, but it's going to be a good one when you just sit down and write and it's like tunnel vision and then the song's done in an hour. So I was just my whole life I've kind of felt as though I didn't fit in either box. I definitely have aspects of like masculinity, femininity, and I have always felt not that those were, like, at war with each other, but that there was no one right answer, and the only way to describe that was that I'm in between. And so, yeah, I just got out my guitar and I started singing, and then I was like, "You're in between," and I was like, ooh, I am in between. So that's kind of how the song came about. I actually played it for my class, and they were like, "You need to release this." So that class was the first people I ever came out to, um,
Wow.
which is kind of cute. They were all super supportive, and honestly, like I can't believe that. I was not planning to release it like at all, but after writing it, I knew it was my truth and it helped me and I felt like it could help other people too. And so that's kind of why I moved forward with it. So that was my long-winded story
No, I
about
love it. I love it. I love everything about it. And it kind of overlaps with like what I was about to ask you. Basically, the song goes through the process of facing yourself and being truthful to yourself about who you are. And it's sort of like a coming out moment to yourself and the world. And you basically, just described exactly what I was talking about and was about to ask. Is this like, what was it like for you? So yeah. So how old were you when you had this revelation? Like it was last semester, you said, or was it?
yeah, so it was very recent. It was a
Okay.
very recent
Okay.
revelation.
Yeah.
Um in quarantine, I feel like a lot of us have had plenty of time to sit with ourselves because we're not surrounded by social constructs when we're in the comfort of our own home,
Right.
like we're just living with ourselves. And I think for me, that sort of manifested in a little bit more exploration thought wise,
Mm-hmm.
having to do with gender because
Mm-hmm.
like I don't have to use public bathrooms when I'm at home. I don't have to pick
Right.
the men or the I'm doing finger quotes, the men's or the women's bathroom. Um, and so for me, I wrote the song when I was 19, so literally last year. I'm like, yeah, back when I was 19 last year. Long time ago. Um, and yeah, I didn't feel comfortable enough to release it or really tell people until I turned 20.
Mm-hmm.
I actually released the song, like a demo of it on SoundCloud, for the last day of Pride Month, just because I wanted people to know, just be like my pronouns are they them. People calling me she her was getting a little ouch, for
Yeah.
lack of better words.
Yeah.
So after releasing the song on SoundCloud, I told my friends, I made a post about it. I was like, I've never felt like a boy or a girl. So here's my song
Mm-hmm.
explaining how I feel. And I hope it resonates with some of you.
Mm.
I didn't tell my dad that I was non-binary. I still haven't straight up said the words to him, I am non-binary.
Hmm.
So the only context for that he has is having heard the song.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I think that's a lot of my family members and some of my like extended acquaintances as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's the most raw thing I've ever written. It's me on a page.
Right.
And so in some ways it's kind of an explanation, not that I need to explain myself.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like music is a pretty easy way to reach people. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that song is literally how I came out.
Yeah. How has the response been to both your family and friends? Well, you did mention that your friends at school were very supportive. How about your more intimate friends, like people you grew up with, and also your parents?
I'm super fortunate. I will just preface this by saying, like, I feel so lucky that I do have a great support system that is queer friendly and just trying their best to get it.
Hmm.
I have a friend group from elementary school. Shout out to Chalice. Love you guys if you're listening to this. We call ourselves Chalice. It's our little group. We're so gross. But they I told them and they just completely made me feel so comfortable. They started using my pronouns. One of my best friends also laid they them pronouns and how it worked out for her whole family so that they wouldn't get it wrong. And yeah, honestly, yeah, my friends have been super supportive. They correct people and they like obviously it's easy to slip up. I mean, they've been calling me she for 19, 20 years. But yeah, they've just all been really supportive. My mom is so cute. She has been super supportive as well. Her and her friends have also been like checking each other. It definitely takes some getting used to because it is still relatively new. But yeah, my stepdad as well. He was like, "Oh, I've known you were non-binary this whole time. I was just waiting for you
Wow.
to tell me." I was like,
Wow.
he's like,
Usually
"Yeah,
it's
that makes
like that. It's like that.
right." It's like everyone knew besides
You,
me. Yeah, you
exactly. It's just
knew.
like, wow, I was oblivious about my own self. And here I am surrounded by all these people who knew, and they didn't even tell me.
Literally, it's honestly so nice to meet face to face. Well, Zoom to Zoom with another like non-binary artist. It's
Right.
just because I feel like I don't get a lot of like time to talk with people who identify similarly to me,
Right.
so this means a lot to me. So thank
Yeah.
you.
No, no, like for real. When I heard your song, I was just like, I have to have you on the show. I have to have them. I definitely have to have them. And yeah, here we are.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad the song resonated with you because that's just my goal. I make music in order to release my emotions and make myself feel better. And if I can do that for someone else, that is just what I want to do.
Yeah. So would you say like the majority of your work is connected to being queer and non-binary?
So I think a lot of my work is more connected to my experience as a human overall versus like gender experience.
Hmm.
So whether it's like experience in relationships or with friends or mental health,
Hmm.
it all circles back. And I think it all carries something that helped me heal in the time.
Hmm.
And so, in turn, I hope that it can help other people as well. I will say lately, as I've been exploring my gender more, I have been writing a little bit more gender focused things. But I think being non binary is a special part of me. And, I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm proud of who I am. And there is more to me than that because I'm a full person, I am not just my queerness, even though I love my queerness. And so my music kind of varies just about whatever I'm experiencing, and I use it to tell my stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Dope. Totally dope. So in the music video, so I watched the music video and that's totally brilliant. Um, you're getting dressed and sort of it's describing how you present yourself to the world and how right it feels, right? And can you talk about what presenting as a non-binary person looks like for you personally?
Of course, yes. So, fun fact, first of all, that suit in the music video is the suit that made me realize for the first time, oh, this is how I feel. This is how I
Right.
feel inside, outside.
Yeah.
So, for me, presentation is a lot about expressing my creativity while maintaining a sense of androgyny. Non-binary people do not owe anyone androgyny. Non-binary people come in all forms,
Mm-hmm.
different varying scales of masculinity, femininity, whatever.
Yeah.
You are all valid. Everyone's valid. But for me personally,
Yeah.
I prefer to be a little bit ambiguous because I'm me and that's what I am. Like I'm not a box. And no shade to anyone who identifies as anything, you're all valid. But um yeah, I think for me it's a lot about expressing my creativity. For instance, for those of you listening at home who can't see me right now, I have bright green hair. um and it's just balancing comfort with showing who I am on the inside. And I think putting on that suit for the first time, that was the suit I wore to my junior prom. It's
Oh
a
wow.
miracle it still fits.
Wow.
But wearing that suit was a combination of everything I've felt on the inside, finally being able to be expressed on the outside. And that's how I try to carry myself now.
Right, right. And did you go through a process where you ever like, figuring out which pronouns were right for you? Like in the sense of like, I know a lot of people use they, them, and other sorts of different pronouns. Did you go through the process of like, or did you automatically just knew that they, them was just right for you in terms of like what you feel you are inside?
To be fully honest with you, I'm still doing that exploring myself.
Okay.
However, I will say I knew that she, her was not it for me.
Right. Right.
And I think for me, I I feel like they them has just been the most accessible. That's I think the majority of the non-binary people I've met in person had used they them pronouns, so I wasn't familiar with alternative pronouns until recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely still exploring that, but I feel very comfortable using they them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like it feels the best on me.
Right.
And so yeah, I wish I had a better, more deep answer for you, but
No,
I just like
that's perfect. I think that's perfect. So, back to the song again. What would you say about being non-binary and queer in the music industry? I know that you only came out a year ago, but how has that like the whole year been like, experiencing music and doing music and expressing yourself personally and outwardly to the world? How has that experience been like?
so being non-binary and queer in the music industry, it's been very interesting. I think the industry focuses a lot around looks, a lot around branding, and not so much about the content of the music because
Mm,
it's all commercial, it's all a product being sold.
right.
But for me, it's been very freeing to be able to present as my true self, and not trying to conform to what I think the industry would want. Like, this is me, and you're getting what you're getting. So cool. If you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, that's cool too. Like, but this is who I am, and I'm not changing that. And honestly, being queer in the music industry, there's not a lot of representation.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
it's getting there's more representation now than there has ever been, and hopefully that number will continue to grow. But
Right.
it almost feels like I have a special job to bring awareness to people and represent people who don't otherwise have a voice because music ultimately gives people a voice, gives people support. And so I feel like being one of not many non binary artists who are publicly out there,
Hmm.
I feel like I have a duty to kind of support people. And also, I would love to help amplify queer representation in the music industry. There are some amazing mainstream queer artists like Sam Smith.
Yeah.
They're absolutely incredible, and more and more people are coming out and making music. And I feel really strongly about keeping that trajectory going and paving the way for more representation. So I just feel lucky that I'm given this opportunity, but also determined to fight for it and to get my voice and in turn other people's voices heard.
Right. Yes. Brilliant. Brilliant. So just gonna jump ahead and ask, like, what is your approach to creating music? Do you have a particular ritual process you follow while creating? I know you mentioned that writing in between was sort of like an instant moment where you just let everything out. Is it like that all the time, or is it more so that you either get a melody in your head and then you follow up on that?
So I'm going to be real with you for a second.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. So most of my songs come to me at literally the most inconvenient times. I'll be in the shower without like a pen and paper. I'll be like, "Oh, I just got this brilliant idea." Or I'll be like in class, sorry to my teachers. And I'll think of a melody or like a lyric idea and I'm like, "Oh, I can't record this right now. Can't just whip out my voice memos app." And so I think for me, music, not to be like music comes to me, but music comes to me
Yeah.
when it wants to. I think it happens a lot if I've been sitting on a feeling. And right when I start to let go and process that feeling is usually when the ideas come. I haven't noticed that until recently, but
Mhm.
I I'm going through a breakup at the moment.
Oh, no.
And I haven't been able to write a song about it because I haven't processed it yet. So
Right.
I think once I start to process, like, who knows, I'll be taking a shower and I'll write a breakup song, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but it's just things like that where I think so the inspiration will hit and then that's where I think of the initial song seed, which is what we call it over at Berkeley, which is just a little idea for a song to sprout out of. I think it's very cute. Um, so yeah, I typically come up with the song seed in the most inconvenient of places at the most random times. I'll usually just voice memo it into my phone for later. And then either that same day, if I'm still feeling inspired, or kind of the next time I feel inspired or have a little bit of free time, I'll whip out the guitar. I usually write on guitar. Sometimes keys. I don't have access to a piano right now because we are off campus at the moment. But so yeah, I whip out my guitar and I just start kind of singing the phrase over and over again
Mhm.
and just playing different variations on the guitar, just figuring out which key my brain has been drawn to, which key I was singing it in my head. And then I play some chords and then I basically just loop that phrase until I think of what will come next. I also do a lot of word association when I'm writing, so I write down all of the things I'm feeling and
Right.
almost like what that reminds me of, like if there's possibility for a metaphor there. Sometimes I'll go into a song knowing I want it to be an extended metaphor.
Right.
So just kind of spitballing everything I think could possibly have to do with it, so I have a lot to work from. And then I go section by section. Lately, I've been writing choruses first, but sometimes I'll get an idea and I'm like, oh, that would be a great verse. So it honestly varies. I also do a lot of loop pedal performance and writing. So sometimes I'll just improvise, set up a loop with my guitar, vocals, and bass.
Mhm.
And then I'll be like, ooh, and then I'll freestyle over it and take like a ridiculously long voice memo and see if I like anything from it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I totally love it. And so, like, you said that you're minoring in, music production. Did you, like, do the entire production of, like, In Between, or did you, like, basically, I don't know, maybe had your friends or, outside people work on it for you? Or can you talk about the production around, In Between?
So, yeah, of course. So, I produced In Between over the span of 2 days in my living room. Um, my dad was at work. I was at home for the summer. I did it over the summer. My dad was at work, and that was before I was. I mean, I guess I'm still not technically formally super out to him, but hi, dad. Uh, but yeah, so while he was at work, I literally just recorded everything. That's me on guitar, me on piano, me playing all of the instruments.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that whole arrangement just was a little weekend project. um, I just kind of knew what I wanted it to sound like in my head. So it was one of those songs where as I was writing it, I could already hear the arrangement of it, which made it pretty easy to just kind of get out. And with my major in production, I sort of had a little bit of that foundation to go about producing it. I released the demo of it that I mixed on SoundCloud, but I I'm still in the very beginning of my major, so I am not a mix god yet.
Okay.
So I got one of my good friends to mix and master the song for me, but all the instrumentation I did like in my living room.
Wow.
It was really funny. I was taking the my dad was going to get home in 10 minutes and I was like, if I'm going to release this, it probably needs a cover. So I put on the suit, but just the shirt. I was just wearing like gym shorts and then the like shirt of the suit. For those of you who haven't seen the cover, it's just like a little clip of like where the suit is, like the tie, like on my chest. And I just like took a selfie of just part of the suit and then cropped it and then popped it into Illustrator. And so yeah, it was really like the whole thing was like a last minute DIY project in my living room trying to beat the clock before my dad got home from work.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, look, I mean, it's amazing. Everything that came through from that, experience is just proof of DIY having its power.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that because I get so self-critical when I do everything from the ground up. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, since I did it, is it legitimate?" And I question myself, so it's really validating to hear you say that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So how is In Between different from your previous works?
So, In Between is definitely the most me of a song that I've ever written.
Okay.
I have 2 albums out on Spotify from pre-coming out. They're under my former name, but I feel like those I was writing to be what I thought I had to be in order to succeed in the music industry.
Right.
I was pop, I was writing like angsty breakup songs about something that never happened to me. Um, and I think now with my fresh perspective on this is my life, I'm going to live my truth. I don't have to waste time trying to be someone else that I will never be. I feel empowered and I'm happy that this is kind of hopefully the start of an era of me making music about my own experience and not about what I think people will want to hear because it's my experience. Chances are someone's gone through the same thing. We are all human and maybe someone will want to hear it. And I'd rather someone hear something genuine coming from me than someone hear something that they like, but it's not actually me.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely it's just a new era of truth for me.
Right. That's totally dope. So I'm just going to switch up. How has the pandemic affected you both personally and as an artist?
Wow, let me tell you, this pandemic has been an absolute wild ride. So I started the pandemic living at home. My friends and I actually did an outdoor musical over the summer. So we were trying to keep busy. It was a lot of trying to keep busy. Obviously, school switching online was definitely a transition, especially mental health wise. Just staring at the computer for hours, I found that really hard. But I will say the pandemic has been an opportunity to do a lot of reflection on myself. And so I'm super happy to be able to take this time to work on my mental health. Like, for instance, right now I am doing part time school in order to work just on becoming a overall healthier person. Um, and yeah, I mean, I've been able to foster a better connection with myself through the pandemic. Also, I've watched a lot of really interesting TV shows. Right now, I'm on the RuPaul's Drag Race grind, I will say. But it's yeah, obviously, it's very difficult not to be able to be close to people because personally, I feed off of interactions with other people, like human connection, which is part of the reason I do and release music, is very important to me. So it's been an interesting adjustment. However, I will say online workflow is super possible and it's getting easier. Obviously, I don't want it to be this way forever, but there are still a lot of possibilities for things we can do online. For instance, I'm in a band. There's two
Oh,
of us. We're called Support Group. We actually have a single out.
I like the name support
Thank
group.
you. We met in a mental health support group, so that's the name. But yeah, it's just me and my buddy Sam. And he was in Seattle. He was at home because we all got kicked out, obviously, to go home for the pandemic. I say that as if it's like a vacation. Oh yeah, are you going home for the pandemic? But but yeah, so we wrote pretty much a whole album's worth of songs over Zoom.
Oh,
Um
wow.
and so it's been an adjustment, but I will say I'm so excited for things to I can't wait to give someone a hug. Like I straight up can't wait to
Right,
see someone on
right,
the street and give them a hug.
right.
But overall, like I feel like I've been trying to make the best of it at least. I know how to make banana bread now, so not to brag, but
Hey, that's important. Banana bread is super dope. It tastes great, and
it
yeah,
does.
it's
Yeah.
delicious. So I props to you for knowing how to make banana bread. I don't know how to make banana bread.
Thank you so much. I'm actually making banana bread tonight, so I'll mentally send you some banana.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, of course, I got you.
So, do you prefer studio work or performing live, and why?
I love people. Um, just gonna you can use that clip as you will. But for me, I'm not necessarily a confident person. I wouldn't go around and say that I'm a confident person. However, when I'm on stage, I feel like I can be myself and like show people who I am. And that's just a feeling that is completely unparalleled by anything else. I love recording, I love it, but performing for me is where it's at. Over actually during the pandemic, this probably had to do with your last question, LOL. But during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to go to LA to audition for American Idol.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I don't think I'm actually allowed to say any outcome of American Idol, so but I think I can say that I auditioned. And getting to perform in front of people, even though it was literally Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryant,
Yeah.
performed in front of people in so long. It was so refreshing,
Yeah.
and I just miss that feeling. So I definitely prefer performance. If I could perform for the rest of my life as my career, that would be the absolute dream.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's all about the connection, like, the energy that you get from the audience, and then also it's a communication that is so like I guess it's kind of like telepathic because it's just like you're exuding something and then receiving a reaction to that, and it's just like so amazing. It's like having that connection and it's yeah, I know what you mean. I get it.
Exactly. It's like such a shared experience, which is
Right.
something that I really miss. And I'm looking forward to us getting herd immunity so we can have that happen again.
Yeah, 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 totally. So thinking about your influences, I'd like to know like which artists you get compared to the most and whether you appreciate those comparisons. Also, is there anyone who influenced you that you think people would find surprising?
I like to think of myself as a musical sponge and just kind of absorb things from everywhere. Growing up, my teacher, Lisa, who is incredible, I mentioned her earlier, LOL. But she taught me all of the jazz standards. So I grew up listening and emulating Etta James, Billie Holiday, all of those people, Ray Charles as well. So I grew up with that foundation and then discovered pop music and I was like, "Oh, LOL." So I think combining my influence of like the great jazz singers with pop more pop focused singers like Ed Sheeran, Adele, Demi Lovato. Um, I think it's definitely influenced my style now. I will say the person I get compared to most, which is very interesting to me because I don't actually think I sound like her, but I'll take it. I absolutely love her, is Emily King. She's like a R&B ish, like very soulful, but has like a very like whispery tone.
Mm.
And I love her. She's a more recent find of mine. So I think it's interesting that we've been compared because while I was forming a lot of my musical influence, I didn't know who she was. But it is actually funny because her parents were my voice teacher's voice teacher. So they're my grand voice
Oh,
teacher. So I think it makes
wow.
sense. But it's very interesting. Yeah. So I get compared to her the most. Um, okay, one of my biggest influences, I'm literally obsessed with Ed Sheeran. I have straight up his Rolling Stone cover hanging right above my desk that I'm sitting at right now. Um, and it wouldn't be necessarily for the reasons a person would think that one would be obsessed with Ed Sheeran, like, oh my God, so cute, and he's British. You know, but I just love the way he's able to recount his experiences through his songs.
Mhm.
He's gone through some tough stuff, and he's made it out. And if it weren't for his like music, who knows? So I think listening to Ed Sheeran has really formed how I go about conveying my emotions through music and talking about experience in a palatable yet truthful way.
Right.
Um, and he also has such a diverse catalog. He writes like folky love songs, but then he also writes like intense, really real, harsh and honest, like more rhythmic stuff.
Mhm.
And I think if you listen closely to my music, you can definitely hear that influence, but I don't think people think of me and they're like, "Oh, they sound like Ed Sheeran," because like I don't sound like Ed Sheeran, but you can definitely hear that influence.
Right. Based on that, how would you say your sound differs from other genre-related artists?
So my sound is kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things, but
Mhm.
I think it's working out. I mean, I've made music. And so I think for me personally, I have like a folky singer-songwritery outlook on lyrics.
Right.
However, I do try to pull like a palatable, hooky aspect that I have learned from pop music.
Mhm.
And then since I was trained in jazz and listening to jazz, my tone itself has the like soulful like R&B quality to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm kind of like a hodgepodge of things. And I think there's no one artist today that I necessarily sound like, but I think we all need to hear some fresh new perspectives every once in a while.
Right.
And with the different fusions that I try to do, it's bringing together the old and the new, which is something really cool because I think that also kind of relates back to like identity and queerness
Yeah.
because it hasn't always been visible,
Right.
but it's always been here.
Yeah.
And I think playing around with the mixture of the old influences with the newer, um, you know, newer storytelling and newer melodies kind of almost plays into that. Like, oh, it's like a sense of timelessness that I think I try to bring back and evoke through my music, even though it probably does fall under the pop category.
Can you recommend any queer, trans, non-binary artists?
Of course. So I have a good friend. Their name is Zach Seals. Absolutely incredible. They're doing right now like kind of like hip hop soul situation.
Mhm.
And please check them out. Their Instagram is Z_Seals. so incredible. There's a lot of really cool artists around here. Also, an artist that I really like, I don't know this person personally, is Ryan Casada.
Mhm.
I think his storytelling is super amazing. And I just really appreciate it. Just like it's so nice hearing other stories from people who have gone through something similar. Obviously, like I'm not binary trans, so I don't know that exact experience, but um it's still just really cool to hear. And yeah, those are two queer artists that I definitely admire.
So I only have a couple more questions left, and this one's just for fun. I just wanted to know, like, are you reading anything interesting right now that you can talk about?
Okay. So, I just read this amazing graphic novel called Gender Queer. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
It's so good. Very like it really lays everything out very nicely by Maya Kobabe. I don't know how to pronounce their last name. But it's so beautifully told.
Mhm.
Um, and I was able to really feel a lot of what was written in
Mhm.
that book, and also the author is an illustrator as well, so it was
Wow.
both an absolute masterpiece, 10 out of 10 recommend, Gender Queer.
Genderqueer. Okay.
My voice teacher, Alona, who's a super amazing support system for me, actually sent it to me
Okay.
because she had read it, and so, yeah, so I, like, just finished it, but absolutely incredible.
Okay. Awesome. I'll definitely check it out. And what are your future plans? Is there an album in the works?
So, I actually have some live session videos coming out on my YouTube channel, over the next few months, which is really exciting. I had such a fun time recording them. So I'll be rolling those out probably over the next like 2 months or so. So if you want to check out my YouTube channel, one of them is a live looping situation, which I think is really fun. I love doing that. Um, so definitely be on the lookout for those. I'm also in the process of recording my next single right now. That'll hopefully be out soon. Also, my band support group is going to release another single right at the beginning of April. So that will be coming out as well. I'm hoping to put together an EP, but between school and life, I'm just trying to do what I can.
Right, right, right. I totally hear you. And where can people find you?
So, people can find me in all of the places of the internet. Um, my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook handles are all at Mel Fine Music. So it's my name and then music. Super exciting. Also, all my info is at my website, melfinemusic.com. You can check me out on YouTube. My channel is literally just Mel Fine. This is me saying my name so many times. I hope you love it. But
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
just anywhere on the internet. My song In Between is out on all streaming platforms. The music video is on YouTube. Me and my team had so much fun making the video, so totally check it out if you can.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mel. Has been a pleasure, and I can't wait for more music from you. I can't wait to listen. I can't wait to hear. I can't wait to see all the things that you're going to do next. I think it's going to be fabulous. And yeah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute blast.
So that was Mel Fine. Aren't they amazing? I really enjoyed talking with them about all things non binary. Now we're gonna play two more tracks by Mel. The first is called Fall for You, and the last is Holy Water. Listen up.
Butterflies take flight. I look into your eyes. I read the signs, but wonder if it's time. My hand in yours flannel jackets on the floor. I let go before we get too close. Will I regret living? Far from the edge. The higher they rise, the harder they fall. Believe me, I've tumbled down my fair share of walls. But the farther we go, the harder I fall for you. I would climb 1,000 mountains, I'd risk it all. 'Cause if you catch me, nothing's too tall. Ooh, ooh. Eyes closed, hearts warm. You almost feel like home. I once was told I'm better off alone. Your head on my chest, my mind's almost at rest. Let's make this mess while it still makes sense. Will I regret jumping over the edge? The higher they rise, the harder they fall. Believe me, I've tumbled down my fair share of walls. But the farther we go, the harder I fall for you. I would climb 1,000 mountains, I'd risk it all. 'Cause if you catch me, nothing's too tall. And if you're not my safety and can't bear my weight, let me down easy. You know what they say. The higher they rise, the harder they fall. Believe me, I have tumbled down my fair share of walls. But the farther we go, the harder I fall for you. I would climb 1,000 mountains, I'd risk it all. 'Cause if you catch me, nothing's too tall. Some people cry in ocean, they wash emotion to the shore. And some are dancing in rain, hoping that it'll cure the pain. But she's been a desert for too many years. Too much sun dried up all her tears. Now the clouds are rolling in, shielding her from sin. Her tears are holy water, forgiveness down her face. Her tears are holy water, a body and soul of grace. Her tears are holy water, they wash the hurt away. Hey, her tears are holy water, and she's healing today. Today, it seems the tides are turning, she's not running anymore. Hell's sun no longer burning, but she won't hit the ocean floor. She's walking on water after the drought. Riding the wave will get her out. She was too scared to sink, so she didn't jump in. And after all this time, she can swim. Her tears are holy water, forgiveness down her face. Her tears are holy water, a body and soul of grace. Her tears are holy water, they wash the hurt away. Hey, her tears are holy water, and she's healing today. Oh, oh, oh. Cry, 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 cry. Her tears are holy water, forgiveness down her face. Her tears are holy water, a body and soul of grace. Her tears are holy water, they wash the hurt away. Hey, her tears are holy water, and she's healing today. Today, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, today.
Thanks for listening to When We See Each Other. I'm your host, Nikkiesha McLeod. This show is produced and edited by Jeremiah McVay. If you like what you hear in this show, please rate and review it in Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that allows that. And please follow us wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. Doing so helps us to expand our audience and is much appreciated. You can find more information about the show at stereoactivemedia.com/whenweseeeachother. And you can get in touch with us at stereoactivemedia@gmail.com. Talk to you later.
This podcast is produced by Stereoactive Media.